Hello and welcome to Salud SA, San Antonio's premier wellness television show. I'm your host, Anastasia. Each month, I'll seek out San Antonio's best-kept health and wellness secrets and feature homegrown alternative healing pioneers from our community. Today, I'm thrilled to be interviewing Rogelio Sanchez, owner of Hash Vegan Eats, and discussing his journey into sobriety and starting the Southside's first vegan and hemp consumable restaurant, and the benefits of a vegan lifestyle, but most importantly, learning how he lives his passion each day. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Welcome, Rogelio. I am so excited to have you here and to talk about Hash Vegan Eats, your restaurant, your creation and living your passion. So let's get started by talking about what drove you into a healthy lifestyle. How did you get introduced to being healthy in general?
So that actually happened as like a evolution of a few decisions I made about 9 years ago or something like that. About 9 years ago, I think it's coming up on 9 years and 3 months ago. My brother and I were just in a really bad space, been fighting addiction on and off. And we had gotten to a really crazy point in our life where we realized that if we didn't make a change then, it was gonna turn into full-blown just horrible addiction, right? So we were already experiencing things like being on the streets and really just burning bridges all around us and spending all our last money on drugs and alcohol. So at that moment of deciding to become sober and put that old life behind us, we ended up just starting to really care about what we put in our bodies and also what we do in life as a moral like guiding, right? So like from the people we associate with to like the things that the businesses we support, and like the food that we eat and things that we put into our body, all just we became super hyper aware of that. So the sobriety recovery journey turned into a fitness journey. So I started riding bikes and running a lot more.
What was your physical condition like then? I mean, were you really thin and like, I just imagine like, part of your thin, like emaciated, like, didn't sleep, like,
Yeah, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of, it actually fluctuated. So, I mean, with alcohol abuse, you know what I mean? You tend to put on a ton of weight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My thing was pills and alcohol, you know what I mean? So I kind of would just zone out for 4 or 5 days. And then, so my body appearance just always kind of varied because I was in a zombie mode for a lot of it. It was crazy. So, but doing that, I ended up starting, like I said, really focusing on fitness, and with a lot of cardio you lose a lot of weight, right? So I was really just looking at how I could put on more weight and then muscle-wise, but also use that as a way to understand that my body, like I need to align my morals and my values with what I drink and what I put in my body, and drugs and all that stuff, right? And what I eat, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to put something that was tortured or something that has a negative effect on the planet inside my body, because you eat that energy, right? You bring in that energy, and it's just something I didn't want to be a part of. I didn't want to support that industry anymore. Turns out, as I said, I'm a cyclist, so when I would ride miles and miles and miles, my body would react and function differently if I had, let's say, like a double cheeseburger, because I would just eat, right? So trying to put on calories because I was riding around so much, because when I was battling with addiction, I had to keep myself busy. So anytime I felt a trigger or I felt something that was going to lead me down the wrong path, I turned that energy into like exercise, right? So I'd either go on a run or I'd go on a bike ride. And then when I do that, work up an appetite finally, right? Like sometimes I was just not hungry and I would just not eat. So now I'm having an appetite and I'm really wanting to crave food. And when I would crave food and I would eat a double cheeseburger with bacon and all these crazy things, I'd get on the bike and I'd feel absolutely horrible. But if I traded that for something a little more lighter or something with more plants, I would perform differently and perform better.
Yeah.
So it really just became a whole like rediscovery journey of who I am as a person, and the morals that I have, and the like the position I have in life, and what I do matters on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I wanted to just really make sure that my impact was as positive as it could be in this world. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a journey into super consciousness. I mean, you're becoming so conscious of everything you do, and everything you put in your body, and then even beyond that, like you mentioned a little bit, veganism also affects the environment and just numerous other things. But being super aware, just even like we discussed beforehand. Like leather goods and those are things that I don't often think about. I do think about the impact on the planet, but I don't think of those things that get even more minute,
Yeah.
So did your brother go vegan too? I'm just curious.
So we went sober at the exact same time, right? And one moment we were just like done, right? Never touched it again. I went vegetarian for about a year, and then I went vegan, right? My brother took about another 6 months after me or something like that. But it's something that you got to break. It's such a habitual thing, like you said, like leather and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you just got to get rid of it all, and really understand that, like, it goes down to even the tiniest things. Like at hash, you can't use bleached flour or sugar, right? Or really anything, because they bleach it with bone marrow.
Yeah.
And it's something
I've
that
read that before.
yeah, it's something that you don't even think about.
Right.
Like, why would they bleach it with bone marrow? It's just sugar. So
Yeah.
and it's veganism is just the practice of trying to eliminate and reduce your impact on animal abuse and like animal agriculture and stuff like that. You don't want to be a part of that system anymore.
Yeah.
And the more that we all collectively do that, things change, and then we're able to at least make an impact that will have residual effects in the future. So.
And I love what you were saying about the vibrational energy of food, because I'm totally into that. I really believe that we're vibrating, that's what we are. We're energy. And so the energy of our food really affects the energy of our body. And you can also tell this in animals, like, you see these, like a tiger goes out and has a kill and then they just go to sleep, they're just like lazy. And then you see like these huge gorillas, like sustaining on nothing but plants, and they're our closest relative,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot to be said for it. And I also do believe, and I still eat meat, I do occasionally. I'm a wannabe vegan. I always say that. I'm a wannabe, and I love cooking vegetarian stuff and all of that. A very experimental cook. But I do believe that, when you get a piece of meat, and if I were to cook it and consume it, it does still take on a little bit of the properties of when that animal was slaughtered, And so, and I know there's, humane ways of slaughtering animals, if there can be a humane way, but it's still, you're putting, I believe, you're putting that in your body, and your body can feel it. So, so I resonated with what you said. And also the fact that you and your brother, you said you made this decision to be sober, and that's what talks to the universe. Is like, if you've ever manifested anything in your life, it's always that decision. It is that point where you're about to break, and it's like you make that decision and the universe responds, right? And so that in retrospect, sometimes we can just go back and be thankful for those, terrible circumstances that were happening, because they've turned you into who you are.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love your story. So let's get into how we know that you had this health journey and this awakening. So how did you get to open your own restaurant on the South Side? Vegan restaurant.
Yeah. That honestly, it's like one of the craziest stories, because I still don't fully understand it, right? It almost happened, like you just said, like about manifesting, right? You put that energy out there, right? I've never been a perfect person. No one is a perfect
Yeah.
person. You know
No
what I mean?
such thing.
I've done some things that I'm not exactly happy with, right? And I've had a past. But one of the best things about recovery and the recovery journey and sobriety is that you're fully accountable for all your mistakes and everything that you do, your positive things and your positive attributes and your negative attributes, and really honing in on those things and changing them, doing the shadow work personally to really deal with your own inner demons, then overall making yourself into a better person, right? I think that a lot of doing that and getting myself into that space really allowed me to start to manifest a little bit easier because you just fully believe it. So you see things that that you just shouldn't happen, right? And so there's things like we grew up in extreme poverty through crazy circumstances and crazy adversity. The fact that I was able to make it out with a stable mind was actually, I didn't expect to make it to 25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So opening up the non-alcoholic bar, right, and vegan restaurant was an idea that I've had for at least around 5 years before we even opened up, which will be about 7 years now. And there's lots of friends that I had, because back then I was bartending because it's what paid the bills. You know what I mean? As a sober person, I was able to be like, at least this is money that I can just hold on to and spend instead of spending it on like drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I would make a bunch of money and then I'd spend a bunch of money. So I was never really getting it to work for me to do my passion, things that I cared about, how I can make an impact in this world. You know what I mean? In a positive way. I was just kind of just existing. So I had been speaking about it and talking about how I wanted to do this idea of a non-alcoholic bar. And again, this is 7 years ago. No one even knew anything about that, right? There was, I think, O'Doul's. Yeah, I think, you know what I mean? And O'Doul's was your best bet when it comes to non-alcoholic beers, which is just like the worst beer in the world. It's horrible. But so I was thinking about it, and then it kind of just happened. I remember I drew up a business plan, and I remember I learned this from another entrepreneur friend of mine, and he said, business plans are great, but no one cares, right? No one cares till you do it, right? So I drew up this business plan, and then it's almost like that. Like I manifested it in a business plan, and then I worked every day towards that goal. I started buying merch before I even had a space, and I just sold it like to my friends, right? Hats and shirts and stuff. And I remember I put it online for feelers and being like, would you spend $5 for a beer, for a non-alcoholic beer? Would you spend this much money? Would you go to a non-alcoholic bar? To like, not to just people just being less than, right? People did not believe in the idea because it's a kind of an off-brand idea. Thankfully, I have some great friends. They tagged me in a space where my buddy was leasing a space at the Folklores Coffee House. And I was able to go and talk to the tattoo, who is who's the owner, and he's also a chef. And he's just an amazing dude. He offered us to rent the back portion of his coffee shop. And then I think about 8 days later, that was 8 days before the world shut down for the coronavirus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? So we had kind of worked all the way up to this point.
Beginning of March 2019.
So it was March 10th. That we shook hands. It was March 10th, 2020. And then March 18th, everything shut down. And so we were just kind of like, so it took a long time to get there, really flesh the idea out. In that time, I was following the market on non-alcoholic industry. And I saw it booming. So I was like, this is going to be the thing. And I really honestly believe that. I believe that even just reevaluating people's relationship with drugs and alcohol, we're in a harm reduction space. So we understand that not everyone is ready to get sober, and it's not always that easy of a path. So there's a bridge that needs to happen. There's a connection that needs to help people get from hurting themselves to helping themselves. And that's where harm reduction steps in. And that's kind of the route that I wanted to take. So like I said, we worked all this way to get there. We put in a bunch of like hours of really just fleshing out the idea and doing research and getting a business plan ready and getting an investor deck ready to no avail. And then we did it completely out of pocket. And then we were, like I said, we were about to do it on March 10th. March 18th, everything shut down.
Yeah.
So for about 6 months, we just sat on the idea, and we're just like destroyed that we had to wait until until we could even move. But like the purpose of Hash is to help people, right? And to like sell good vegan food on the South Side. But it's mostly, honestly, to give people a space where they can go and be sober and be comfortable. You know what I mean? And harm reduction is everything, even veganism, because it reduces harm to the environment and animals. So we really just wanted to create that space. And when in the middle of the pandemic, you started seeing like articles coming out about how drug abuse and alcohol abuse was on the rise. And then in turn, suicides were on the rise. And that was destroying us, because not that we are the biggest impact, but at the end of the day, we needed to do something because everyone had complete access to alcohol at their home, delivery through the door. You know what I mean? So it was the immediate gratification. And from people going through things as an addict, I understand what it's like to be in that space. So I was like, we have to do it. So we opened up slowly and safely. But we ended up opening up in the middle of the pandemic in like September, mid-September, and then we fully opened up, grand opening, full menu, full bar, October 15th. But it was a long road. It was about 7 years of really working it out, and then just taking the opportunity when it came, and then running with the punches. And we've been working through the whole pandemic, and it has been a wild ride.
Yeah, I bet. I love that story. And I love that approach, because I had never heard that until, we were exchanging notes, the harm reduction approach. And I think that's a really awesome concept, because not everybody can just jump into sobriety or to veganism or, a health, I'm whatever, keto or, whatever lifestyle you want to pursue. So just taking those baby steps is what leads you down that path to your ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your food. So I had the pleasure of going to a restaurant with my husband a couple weekends back, and he really, we're about 90% vegetarian at my house, because I don't cook meat, but I do eat it when I'm out occasionally. And when I told him that we were going to this vegan restaurant, he was like, "What? Vegan?" And I was like, "Chill out. You know that half of the food I feed you anyway is vegan. Rice and beans are vegan. I'm not putting meat in them, Yeah. And so anyway, he was like, "Whatever. Yes. Okay, let's go." But by the time we left there, he was completely taken, and it was like, "We're going to put this in the rotation. We need to support this place. It
awesome.
has such a great feel. The people working the counter, the baristas, and the guy at the coffee bar, they were all very helpful and knowledgeable. They knew all about the menu and the food. And he had the chicken, the barbecue chicken hash, which is based with cauliflower. And mine was the buffalo chicken rice bowl, which was also a cauliflower-based dish. And the frying, oh my gosh, everything was like perfection, because I have tried to make, buffalo cauliflower at my house, and it never turns out like that. But it was delicious. Everything was so good, and I'm really looking forward to trying some of the mocktails, because the pictures that you post on Instagram, they're absolutely beautiful. These are they look like beautiful craft cocktails, but they're good for you, And I had never heard of, I've heard of making mocktails without anything, any alcohol, but I noticed that you use some things in there that I guess kind of taste similar to, but they're zero alcohol, so they don't have any alcohol. So I was really intrigued, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. But tell me a little bit, what your best sellers are, or what you're known for, and a little bit about your drinks.
Okay, so what we're really known for, so firstly, when we approach food and the menu, what we're trying to do is just hyper focus on making good food that just happens to be vegan, rather than focusing on good vegan food, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? So when we do things like the cauliflower chicken, that recipe is actually based off of I think Church's fried chicken batter. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we kind of borrowed off of our experience in the food industry.
Yeah.
And we reinterpret and reimagine them in the vegan world. One of those things is like our fish tacos, right? We have vegan fish tacos that'll fool the regular person, and it's made. Everything's made in house on the daily, so it's really really cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. We don't really mess with a lot of like nothing wrong with them, but like the vegan food brands.
Yeah, like
right?
packaged, prepackaged foods.
Yeah, we don't really mess with that. We try to do everything from scratch, if not everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every day we're working towards that. So the fish tacos are amazing. I would say those are like one of my favorite plates on there. We have our barbecue chicken mac, which is just a #1 hitter. So if I'm gonna say the two hitters that everyone loves is the fish tacos and the barbecue chicken mac. Besides that, like I said, we have a great Monte Cristo, which is just a regular Monte Cristo replaced with vegan items. You know what I mean? Just egg. Vegan bacon, no, not vegan bacon, I'm sorry. Vegan ham, vegan cheese, right? Stuff like that. Vegan mayonnaise. So it's super tasty, very comfort foody, right? We also have very tasty things like our kale Caesar salad, as well as a kale Caesar chicken wrap. And those are just super nutritious, right?
Yeah.
So we try to give everybody an option. So if you're looking for healthy, if you're looking for comfort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and if you're looking for light, like the fish tacos, we really just want to be that space where you can get almost anything you want as a vegan. In that same approach, we make great cocktails that just happen to be alcohol free. So rather than making great mocktails, right, we make great cocktails that just happen to be alcohol free.
Yeah.
Like I said, thankfully, over the last 3 years or so, maybe more, the non-alcoholic space has been growing.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
there's
definitely has.
Amazing brands out there. We utilize Spiritless, which is actually a woman-owned brand. Super dope. They have some great stuff. They have a whiskey and a tequila that we carry, and those are just amazing.
And can you find those at a liquor store?
Yeah.
Or
You can go
do you have to order online?
So I think Spiritless you might have to order online, but if anybody, just because I want to promote the lifestyle and let everyone know the options are there, Total Wine & More has an amazing selection.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get a whole non-alcoholic option from wine to spirits to beers and everything in between. So yeah, it's really, really cool. And we really just like to focus, like I said, our bar manager, she is a career bartender. She's great. She's actually also sober. So she took all that knowledge and just transferred it over into non-alcoholic cocktails and just really makes seasonal menus, beautiful craft cocktails for all the time. Like she's just a killer. So I would say the blueberry whiskey sour, because that's actually one that I create, that I added to the menu. But she has a sage rush, which is also a delicious, refreshing cocktail. Everything, all the syrups and everything are made in house as well.
Yeah.
So,
oh, nice.
yeah. So everything, and a lot of them are made with my sister's tea.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. Then I get to try it too.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, these cocktails, the pictures, they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful, and I love that. You know, you can have this delicious, nourishing drink with your food too. And yes, the food was just beautiful itself too. I was taking pictures. I don't usually take pictures of my food, but I did there because it was so pretty. Just the presentation and the whole vibe of the building was very cozy and warm, and yeah, I could feel the love in there.
That's awesome.
So tell us really quickly about your slogan, Heal and Spread Healing. What's that about?
So HASH is an acronym for Heal and Spread Healing. And that is essentially a mantra of ours. Like I said, you have to heal yourself first from like an internal level, right? Your spirit work and stuff like that, your shadow work, to make sure that you're in line completely. Because that knowledge is something that I learned hard ways and good ways, right? I had to learn that I can't be beneficial to a partner. I can't be beneficial to my brother, who's my business partner, or like my family or anything, if I wasn't healed myself. Yeah. Right. So I had to really hyper focus and isolate for years in my early recovery to be able to make sure that I was a good person. Like, right, I was able to look at myself confidently and be like, that's a good
Yeah.
dude. You know what I mean?
Solid.
Yeah, solid dude. And I had to do that. And then as I was able to feel comfortable in that world, right? Then I was able to outreach and try to talk to people about recovery and changing their life as far as even veganism and diet and stuff like that. And I really, so that's the acronym. The acronym is first you have to heal, and then you have to go out there and spread the healing.
Yeah.
Right? So, because it's one of those things where it's like, you can't keep this to yourself. Like, I couldn't operate a bar, I couldn't operate a business on the South Side and not feed the homeless. That doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't align morally with me. So, yeah.
And I love that. See, I didn't make the connection until, we were exchanging notes and questioning about HASH, and that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love healing. I think that's how we all, that's the ultimate goal, right? The more we heal ourselves, the better we are for everyone. And it all starts with ourselves, like putting that mask on first, in the airplane. Like, you can't help anybody else until you help yourself. So you've got to start with yourself, right? Yeah. All right. Well, Rogelio, where can people find you on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, wherever you are?
So on all across platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, it's #VeganEats. You can just type that in. It'll be the first one to pop up. Got a hemp leaf as the logo. And then #VeganEats.com.
Great.
Yeah, and on the South Side. So.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you today. And I can't wait to go back and get some more food.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Appreciate you.
Thank you.